Hey guys, it's Misty, and it's time for another shelf in the Shelf by Shelf tour. This time we are moving on to my yellow books. I'm sure you know the drill by now, but basically I'm going to show you each book, show you the cover, tell you the title, how I got it, if I've read it, what I think of it, and all that. If you just want to see a quick version with just the cover and the title, you can find that video here. And if you want to know more about any of the books, there are links to all of them below. But for now, I'm going to get straight into it. Alright, so here is the yellow shelf overall. First up, Prime Baby by Jean Luen-Yang. This is a graphic novel. It's very thin. It's green all over, except for the spine, so it got to go on the yellow shelf. This one's kind of fun when I slide it out. It is in there right, but when I slide it out, yeah, that's the back cover. This is Arcadia by Laura Groff, which when I flip it over is upside down. They have this thing all sorts of messed up. This was an ARC that I won, I think, from Shelf Awareness, and it's just all sorts of backwards and weird. I don't even know. I haven't attempted to read it, so I don't know if it's printed backwards or what, but yeah, there you go. All kinds of crazy. Bake Sale by Sarah Vrone. I love this. I think you guys know that by now. I love her in general. Her graphic novels are fantastic. I really, really want a second book of this. I want to know what happens to Cupcake. The Eternal Smile, again, by Jean Luen-Yang and Derek Kirk Kim. This is another graphic novel. It's really good. It's, I want to say, 3 stories in one that are kind of interconnected. Definitely worth picking up. A Red Herring Without Mustard by Alan Bradley. This is one of the Flavia de Luce books. I talked about this one in my Spines book chat because I love the color and I love the spider on the crystal ball. And though I haven't read this one yet, that's just because I don't have book 2 yet. I really did like the first one, The Sweetness at the Bottom of the Pie. Please Ignore Vera Dietz by A.S. King. This was, I believe, a gift from Liz of Consumed by Books. It was a Prince honor book, and I definitely trust the Prince Award. I tend to really like the books that are Prince either award winners or nominees. And of course, I've mentioned many times, I adore A.S. King. I haven't read this one yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. The Help by Catherine Stockett. This one's pretty famous by this point. It was made into a movie and all that. I haven't read it yet, but the only reason is because I have a friend that's been pushing me to read, or to listen to, the audiobook version, which is a full cast recording, and so I can't decide whether I want to read it or listen to it. Sunshine by Robin McKinley. I talk about this one a lot too, and it was just in the book chat about books that you wish you could experience again for the first time. I just connected with it. I have 2 versions of this. I have the mass market size of the original cover, which I do really like, but even though I already had that, when I saw this repackage, I could not resist. It's so pretty. I'm gonna pull it out so you can see how it really does sparkle. It's glittery. It's kind of holographic. So it's not just that it has those sort of painted in light refractions. The book itself does that. So pretty. And in a rare instance of 2 books by the same author being next to each other, I have Chalice by Robin McKinley. This is one of the weirder reading experiences I've ever had because it's really slow, like sort of painfully slow, and yet so good. I did a video review of it way back in the day, so I'll link to that where I hopefully explain it better, but yeah, this one really took me by surprise and is one of the reasons that I keep books generally when I buy them, because a lot of times I do want to reread things, and this is one that I definitely want to reread. I think you would need multiple readings of this to really fully appreciate it and everything that it has to offer. But it's a weird book. It's a weird reading experience. Major Pettigrew's Last Stand by Helen Simonson. This book, for some reason, just I had to have. It just sounded really good. It doesn't sound like what I normally read, but I just really wanted it. And then I found it really cheap, so I took that as a sign. The Lone Ranger and Tonto Fistfight in Heaven by Sherman Alexie. This is a short story collection. I adore Sherman Alexie. I haven't read all of the short stories in it because I tend to only read short stories when I'm in the mood, and I sort of parcel them out to myself. So I have read some of them, and the ones I've read I really liked. I think he's a master of making things sad and funny at the same time. Definitely worth a read. The Key to the Golden Firebird by Maureen Johnson. I've only read one book by Maureen Johnson, which was Devilish. You'll see that in a minute because it's also yellow. But it was enough, I liked it enough, to buy everything by her. I think. I might be missing a couple, but basically I have a lot of Maureen Johnson, and I need to just have a marathon or something. The Evolution of Calpurnia Tate by Jacqueline Kelly. I adore this style, the cover and the spine. I talked about it in my book spines chat. And fortunately, the book inside it lives up to that. It is a Newbery honor, and well worth it. Definitely really good. A Year Down Yonder by Richard Peck. This was one I had to read for a children's lit class that I took in college. It won the Newbery, and I can completely see why. It's very, very short, won't take a lot of your time if you haven't read it. I would recommend you do. It was really good. Breathe My Name by R.A. Nelson. I had heard some good reviews of R.A. Nelson, so I was kind of looking into a few different books. And this one came up on Better World Books for really cheap, and I really like the cover. I think it's a really interesting cover, so I went ahead and bought it. I haven't read it yet, but I am looking forward to it. I love the color of the spine. One of those colors that people love or hate, and I love it. The Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. I actually had 2 copies of this, but I just got rid of one because it was paperback and this is hardcover. I haven't read it, but I've read a number of books by Toni Morrison and loved every single one. So when I found this at a yard sale for 50 cents, it was a no-brainer. Avalon High by Meg Cabot. This, I want to say, was made into a movie or a TV show or something for Disney. I haven't read anything by Meg Cabot, and I have most of the books that she's written. Partly that's because I have a lot of friends that recommend her. I need to, again, have a marathon of her. Solstice by Simon Holt. This is the second book of The Devouring. The spine is mostly black, but I think of it as yellow because of all this, and it does have yellow on it. But as I've said before, there are enough black spines on my bookshelves, so this one's getting categorized as yellow. Across the Nightingale Floor by Leanne Hearn. This is some sort of epic fantasy, I guess. I haven't read it yet. I bought it, much of it on Title Appeal because I really like that title, but also I was just really craving some fantasy when I bought it. I've heard excellent things about it. It's one of those that I really want to pick up and just haven't found the time yet. Yellow by Yanni Visman. I don't remember how I ended up with this one. I may have bought it right after I went to organizing my books by color because it is yellow, as the name would imply. 3 Bags Full by Leonie Swan. This sounds like the quirkiest, weirdest book ever. There are going to be links to all the books below, so you can look into this one and find out for yourself if you want, but it sounds really weird, and I just couldn't resist that. Lamb, The Gospel According to Biff, Christ's Childhood Pal by Christopher Moore. This book is pretty famous, as is Christopher Moore, so I don't know how much I really need to say about it. I haven't read it yet. I really want to get the fancy version that looks like a Bible. It's like leather bound and has gold edged pages. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one though. The 19th Wife by David Ebershoff. This is about polygamy. It's like a murder mystery. I liked it. I thought it was worth it. And then we have this little boxed set of the Little House on the Prairie books, which are really beat up. This is a really old set. My grandparents gave it to me. And I don't know that they're actually in any kind of order, so I'm just going to pull them out in the order that they're in. Here's what this set looks like. Little Town on the Prairie, On the Banks of Plum Creek, Farmer Boy, By the Shores of Silver Lake, the one random green one in it, I don't know how that happens, Little House in the Big Woods, Little House on the Prairie, These Happy Golden Years, The Long Winter, which I think might be my favorite, and The First 4 Years. These books have been read many, many times. I'm gonna guess not just by me, but many times by me. I adore them. Really, really, truly adore them. And then in this gap stacked on top we have one of the last vampire books. If this is Evil Thirst, it's the 5th one by Christopher Pike. I've talked before about how I loved Christopher Pike as a kid and still have a soft spot for him. Watership Down by Richard Adams. When I was working as a tutor out at my local college, each semester I would buy pretty much every book that the different classes the English classes were doing, so this was one of them. I didn't read this for class, I wasn't in this class, but yeah, I bought up their books, so one of these days I will read this one. I read part of it and just couldn't get into it the way I was expecting to, considering how amazing everyone says it is. Scarlet. This is a sequel to Gone of the Wind, which was written by Margaret Mitchell, but this Scarlet is written by Alexandra Ripley. I think this is actually my mom's, so hi Mom, here's your book. As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner. This, I bought at a yard sale with the intention of rereading it because I read it in high school and hated it so very much. For a long time I listed it as my least favorite book. Not because I don't think it's necessarily good, but because I hated the way they talked. Especially Anne Spondren, who I just wanted to punch in the throat. So, one of these days I'm going to give it another try. Cinderellas in the Glass Hill by Gail Carson Levine. I expected to like this a lot more than I did. I thought it was just kind of a little too simple, I guess, for my tastes, and just underwritten, maybe. I know that it's aimed at a fairly young audience, but it's by the author of Ella Enchanted, which won a Newbery, or which was one of the nominees for a Newbery, and, you know, was made into a movie, is very, very popular, and so I was expecting the same sort of level of excitement about it and engagingness about it, and it didn't really engage me all that much, but I read it for my children's lit class. I did a project on fairy tales, go figure. Watchmen by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons. This one you guys chose for me to read for Stack of 5 recently. Love That Dog by Sharon Creech. This is a middle grade novel told in poems, and it is fan-friggin-tastic. It made me cry. It's so thin. You really wouldn't expect when you start it for it to really affect you the way it does. It's really, really good. You can read it in one sitting easily, so I would recommend picking it up, checking it out. It's well worth it. The Duff by Cody Keplinger. I've already reviewed this one, so I'll leave the link to that below, but I freaking loved this. I expected to really like it based on the reviews that it got, but no, I really liked it. The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd. This one is pretty popular. It was a bestseller and it was made into a movie. If you haven't read it yet, I would suggest you do. I really, really enjoyed it. I like books like this though. Life Before Man by Margaret Atwood. I haven't read this one yet, but if I find a Margaret Atwood book cheap somewhere, it's a guarantee that I'm gonna take it home with me because I think she's phenomenal. Dancing at the Chance by Deanna Cameron. This was a bit of a letdown, actually. I was really hoping for more, and I saw the potential for more in this than I actually got. I'll leave the link to my review, but yeah, I wanted more from this. And lastly, as I mentioned, Devilish by Maureen Johnson. This is the only book I've read by her, though I own many, many of her books. I adored this. It was hilarious. If you follow Maureen on Twitter, I'm sure you're not surprised that it's hilarious. She is a quirky individual. I really, really liked this. So that was the yellow shelf. I'm sure I do have a few more yellow books in my signed shelf and my Jane Austen shelf, but we'll get to those eventually. Let me know what you thought, if you've read any of the books or want to, and all that good stuff. And of course, just like the last two color blocks, I challenge you to make a video response of your yellow books. Whether you organize by color or not, yellow is kind of a rarer color for books, so I'm definitely interested to see which ones you guys have. So if you're interested, dig around through your shelves, find all of your yellow books, and then upload a video, let us know what you have, and share it as a video response below. Until next time, happy reading! The noose that something, hangman something, I don't remember what it's called. I feel like I have too many books to fit. How did these all fit up here?